So we usually meet customers here. We also start the tour here because this is a little bit of a tie to the legacy of this building. This used to be the entrance in 1876.
So can you introduce yourself to the stuff to start?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm Steve Brabant, Senior Vice President, Data Center Operations for Congruity360. When this building was built, it was built as a cotton mill. It was Granite Cotton Mills number 3. The first one is still on the side of us to our east. Second one is long since taken down. When this was a cotton mill, this was the original entrance. So we left it in place just to give you an idea of what 4-foot thick solid granite blocks look like. These granite blocks run from the footing to the foundation all the way up to the roof line. So we estimate they're between 4,000 and 8,000 pounds a piece minimum. And it's not a facade, this is solid granite. So that's as thick as it gets. We don't know what a stone like that would weigh. We don't know how thick it is, we don't know what it would weigh, but the minimum is 4,000 to 8,000 pounds.
What's the, how old is the building? When was it built again?
It was built in 1876. It ran as a cotton mill until I believe it was the 1900s. And then it was reinvented as an elastic thread company. Spandex elastic rubber thread was actually invented in this building. It was a company called Globe Manufacturing, a very large employer, ran 3 shifts. I've heard between 400 and 600 people worked here. So when the technology went overseas, they actually shut down manufacturing here because it just didn't pay. It went from $12 a pound to $6 a pound, and it just disrupted the market. So they closed the business down. The building stayed empty for a number of years. When I saw it and I saw how it was built and the ceiling height and the floor loading capabilities, I thought it would be ideal for a data center. So yeah, we built the data center here.
Well, if the whole building is built like this,
oh yeah, it is.
You're right.
There's granite sticking out in the basement. Where they built a granite building on a granite foundation on a granite ledge.
Oh,
so
wow.
I would love to have seen them actually build this.
I've seen them reconstruct retaining walls made out of it. It's not easy. Even with backhoes, you literally need an excavator because the weight and leverage will exceed what a backhoe can move. So now you need a real experienced heavy equipment operator and people who are willing to risk their fingers to get it all set in place.
And they built this by hand.
Right, yeah, there was probably no machinery in 1876 that would, you might have had some kind of steam engine stuff, but that's probably it. I don't think they had diesel power. So, cars were just being invented, right?
Absolutely. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
So, wow, all right.
We'll head this way. This is an air gap, typical of a data center. So we'll all come in here before I can open the next door.
I'm trying to look at the best of it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Well, having my badge and my pin only helps you to this point. To get any further, you still need to take my finger, one of them. You'll have to decide which one. If I can find my
Which one's
badge.
your least favorite?
This one, actually, because
Okay.
I've broken it so many times. I could do without that one.
All right. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, it's 7724. You still need my fingerprint. I have a joke I would normally throw in right now, but now that you're recording me, I'm not gonna. So this was originally built as our knock, and that part of the business grew so much, they outgrew it in less than 6 months. So that's all those people we walk by upstairs, that's the new knock. And now, as we run out of seats, we're backfilling this with technicians and so on. What you're standing on now is a 3-foot raised floor. There's only a couple of things under the floor. One is it's concrete, so it's a non-combustible space. This is our air plenum. When we want cold air, we put a vented tile. Same thing with the ceiling. It's our return air plenum. When we want to take hot air back to the air conditioning, we put a vented tile. The only technology under this floor is a burglar alarm system. Because it's such a vast space, someone could hypothetically pick up a tile, climb under the cage, pop back up. So we put a burglar alarm, laser beams across, and motion detectors all around. So
freaking lasers?
Yeah, we cover a 220-foot space. We're literally shooting lasers across this floor. Yeah. And the ceiling tiles won't hold you, and most cages have a roof, so if you really want to scale the cage, I guess you could do it, but I wouldn't. So we kind of keep the wet wall and the electrical wall separate. So all the water, all the HVAC is on this side and all the electrical is on this side. Just a good best practice. The two shall never meet, if possible. These are all 30-ton air conditioning units. Some of them are self-contained and some of them are on a dual 300-ton chiller plant. The ones with the silver tops are air handlers, so they connect to our chiller plant where the cold water is made. These units are independent of each other and the chiller plant, where they all have their own dual compressors, they all have their own refrigerant, they all have their own glycol loop, their own dual pump package, dual compressors, triple fans. So there's redundancy upon redundancy in here. The little silver boxes are ultrasonic humidification, and if you've ever heard of Legionnaire's disease, you don't just plumb water to that, so we have a reverse osmosis deionization system. Reverse osmosis water tastes great. You can drink it, but don't drink the deionized stuff, because it'll literally demineralize your body to equal out the mineral content between the water you're drinking and your body, which will kill you. So you can't drink it, but it's really good for stopping Legionnaire's disease. So there's about 24 cameras in this room in total. They're watching every door, entrance, aisle, crack unit. Again, all controlled, monitored, recorded. Security has full control. The knock has full control. The knock upstairs has full control, and my office has full control. So we're not dependent on any one space to monitor to this. We can go anywhere and still access this. I was actually reviewing footage last night from home because there was someone had a complaint and I wanted to investigate. So this is a hot cold aisle design. We're in a hot aisle right now. The air intake is always in the front, so we put all the hot air in here and we take it all back over there. We've actually done some thermal imaging on this space and it works really well.
Even wide open it works?
Yeah, yep, and there's very little mixing. Even though we haven't blank paneled a lot of this, we have to be picky and choosy who we put across from each other. Some of them are really loud. That's a Sun server. So they can be really loud. And some have everything and some of them have almost nothing. Every different design is unique.
Yeah, it's interesting that with the hot aisle, cold aisle, because you don't have any spaces
Yeah.
that are blanks. It's open in the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's open front to back. I mean, you'd
Right.
think it would.
And we
mix.
have aisles and cross throughs.
Yeah.
It's actually working pretty good. We have some customers who are starting to use blank panels, and we encourage that. And what's an aisle today could be a cabinet tomorrow if the need arose. But it's just like there were more aisles here, and we've stuck storage systems that customers have purchased or shown up with.
So these are not in cages. So is this like a?
Yeah, these are usually 1 or 2 cabinet customers. In this
Yeah.
case, I think this is a 4 cabinet customer, because I believe this one mirrors this
Yeah.
one. I think these
They
are
look
sort of
like it.
mirrors. And then I think they have, this one is a sort of a sandbox for the same customer as well. This customer had 1 cabinet at the beginning of this year, now they're up to 5. And we're also looking at building another data center for them in this facility. So there's a lot of,
This is all colo then.
no, there's a lot of managed service customers in here as well. But it is intermingled. The original marketing was straight colo. You know, we didn't have when it was mine, I didn't have people who did VMware and operating systems and licensing. But with Congruity360, obviously, they have all the resources, and they have all the equipment, they have all the software, all the connections, all the people to manage that. So we deliver all the power overhead. Every cabinet gets an A and a B circuit, more or less. And what I mean by more or less is we deliver, 9,000 watt circuits, and customers use 1,200, 1,500 watts. So we will split them down and give them multiple circuits. In this case, we have a 3-phase circuit, and it's split up because there's 4 power supplies in this storage unit. So there's 2A, 2B, so we split it into the 2 smaller circuits for them. All the fiber Ethernet is all delivered overhead. We've got multiple routes between here and our carrier room. So we'll do an east and west fiber run, an east and west Ethernet run. just gives us some more durability, you know. If someone were to take out a ladder tray and destroy a bunch of cables, they really wouldn't affect us. Of course, they'd need a new job, but you know, the reality is we have to build that kind of redundancy, especially with fiber. It's so expensive. It's better to do it twice and be redundant. We've also got, as we matured, we actually, if we go this way, we started delivering much higher power on bus duct. So this is, that's a Starline's version, and it's dense, but it's, there's about 133 kW in that row. And this is APC's version, which is a little more robust. There's actually 266 kW of primary and 266 redundant power in this row. So we're going to be repurposing this cage for the higher density customers. Again, we've got pipe and wire going in different directions. We've got fiber going, Ethernet, everything in there. So this is one of the routes, and the other one goes to the far end.
Are you seeing people more interested in much higher densities in the rack with much more power?
You know, in 2012, everybody said they wanted higher density, so I delivered 9.9 kW primary, 9.9 kW redundant, and that was usable power. And other than a couple of cabinets by our predecessor, which was MSDI, nobody touched it. And that's why I ended up splitting the circuits into 5.6 kW circuits.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but what I find in a lot of facilities is they can't cool it anyway, so that they usually won't deliver it if they can't control it or cool it, or they will deliver it and then it'll limit their future growth.
Yeah.
In our case, we can cool it and deliver it and nobody uses it. So now you've deployed all this power, you've tied up all these circuit breaker locations, you've tied up that allocation on a transformer, and the load is never coming. So better to give them a little less overkill, give them the same amount of redundancy, and you know, kind of make good use.
But if a customer came in and said that they wanted that,
oh, it'd be my pleasure. Yeah, I love those customers.
Yeah.
We have a couple of routers. We're doing an upgrade. We're going from some older Cisco's, and we're putting in these monster brocades. So right now we've got 4 cages to build. One for the new routers. One is a backup cage. One is an extension of the what they call SkyStack. I don't know if they've talked to you guys about that yet. SkyStack is a product they've developed and offer, and it's sort of a data warehouse that is extremely searchable. So you've got e-discovery software and a lot of cool features. So if you're a massive company and have a massive amount of data and you need to peruse that data for legal or otherwise, this system's all flash array, pure storage on the bottom. So, and we're constantly trying to stay ahead of the demand, so we keep installing more circuits, cabinets, you know, Ethernet, and just try and get ahead of it. Power strips, everything's just sitting there. So, you know, we do 9 cabinet deployments in 24 hours, but when it comes to cage and some of that hardware, it's all made on demand. There's no pre-manufactured equipment sitting on shelves waiting for people to show up and buy it.
So like looking around at this room, this is a fairly large room. What kind of percentage of the total data center space does this represent? Or the total prospective space, the total buildable data center space? There's
about 201,000 in the entire building. What I'm going to show you today is about 70,000 of it.
Okay, so
there's 130,000 you're not going to see today.
Right.
Yeah. Untouched, you know, some of it's shelled out.
Yeah, so we're seeing about a third of what you've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This room alone is about 23,000 square feet. It's just about 30 with the offices and restrooms and ramps in the hallway and some of that. But in total, we've only touched 70,000 of it so far.
Yeah.
And of that 70,000, another 25,000 upstairs is literally just shell. It's just been gutted, cleaned, painted, all the way down to the bare minimum we need to start. If we wanted to double this, we would start up there in that shell space. Okay, we'll move along.
How often are you guys changing the floor plan?
As soon as they look dirty. Yeah, sometimes a couple times a day. You know, it helps a great deal in keeping the white data center clean. You know, I mean, it doesn't take much. You pick up dust everywhere you go, especially people coming in and out in the winter. You bring in salt and everything you can imagine. So just to give you some perspective, this is a firewall between the two main buildings. This is a 3-story that we won't even go into today. This is a 2-story. This is a 3rd building. This is what we call the carrier building. That's a 3-story. Where the EBC is the 2nd story of our electrical UPS room. So that's a separate building. And then we've got the generator building. Even though they're all connected, they're all actually separate buildings with firewalls in between. So that's why you'll see such thick entrances between buildings. Oh yeah. Steel, granite, brick. Yeah, this place is a fortress. Great for a zombie apocalypse. This was
There's
literally.
a lot of history in this room, huh?
Yeah, this was. There's compressors in here. We've got a primary and redundant compressors that keep the air in the sprinkler system. So all 201,000 square feet of the building is obviously sprinklered. Some of it in 3 different levels. You know, I'll have it in the basement. I'll have it above the drop ceiling and below the drop ceiling. But in the case of this building, this entire pipe is dry. It's got nothing but air in it. So if you were to trip a head, trip a smoke, trip a heat, then all we would do is fill the sprinkler pipe. You literally have to burn a head off to get water out of it. But the entire pipe is dry. It's a little safer. Gives us an extra 30 seconds before the water comes at you, you know. So this is a carrier room, storage room. Sometimes we get large deployments and it all comes in packaged and boxed and palletized and has to be inventoried and inspected, and it goes in there until someone's willing to sign for it. This is where we're lining up our carriers. This is CapeNet. This was a $40 million federally funded project to improve internet connectivity for mainly the Cape. Nice thing is we're in between the Cape and Providence, so they have an east and west leg leaving here. The west leg goes towards Providence. The east leg goes all the way out to Provincetown, back up to Boston, and they've since, you know, negotiated with other carriers and exchanged fiber, and so they connect from Boston to Providence as well. So I could get a circuit coming out of Boston, going through Providence, coming this way. I could get another circuit from from a different carrier, the same carrier, on this open Cape fiber, and it could come east through Provincetown and back
Don't you guys
this way.
have something with the pipe that comes into the building?
Backbone fibers? Yeah, we have them coming in
But don't you guys have,
4
aren't you
different
guys
places.
the only ones rated with a certain speed or amount? I forget the
Yeah,
I forget the number.
I know we're a primary hop on this fiber because there's 144 strands coming and leaving. We use some of this fiber. We use it to connect to Providence. We use it to connect to Boston. And a lot of traffic on the Cape that would come through Open Cape would essentially pass right through this piece of equipment. So they're probably referring to that this is one of the main hubs for the Open Cape network. And then, of course, we have Verizon fiber and Comcast fiber and Light Tower fiber. The advantage to having so many fiber providers is I may not have cogent, I may not have a cogent cage here, but I can pick up one cogent circuit out of Boston one summer and have it delivered here on Comcast fiber. I could pick up the other one on Light Tower and have it delivered out of Providence. So you'd have to dig a really big hole to hit all those fiber locations. There's the compressors I warned you about. That keeps air in the pipe. Then in addition to Verizon being the incumbent, they'll usually be one of the companies chosen to deliver circuits that for carriers who don't have a POP here. In this case, I happen to know there's a level 3 and some other circuits coming in on Verizon fiber. And then that scenario I described where we've got multiple different carriers coming in on Verizon and Light Tower as well. And then we've got fiber running all over the place now. And everywhere we go, we've got loading docks. We've got these loading docks going all the way up to the 3rd floor, hoistways. We actually used one on the 2nd floor recently. We craned a 30-ton crack unit in through the opening. It was really nice not having to make a new opening, having one already readily available.
Look at this little door.
Yeah. This door has been a real pain in my back for a long time, but it's very effective. Believe it or not, this door will automatically close if there's a fire. It'll melt the link, and the link will drop the weights, and the door will slam shut. Yeah. So that's the carrier building. That's the main building where the data center is. That's the generator building. This was the parking lot. So that's why you see the windows for both of these buildings.
Yeah.
And they seam this in here sort of in the same construction you would see in a parking garage. Oversized beams, you know, pre-manufactured slabs of concrete. We inquired what the opening was. They had a sewer drain under this building, and they had to fix it. So they drove a backhoe in here, cut out the floor, fixed the drain, the sewer pipe, in the basement from this level, and then put the slab back in. So this is a bunker. This place is pretty heavily built. So you'll see there's more air conditioners in here. This is all redundancy. There's no heat source in most of this building, so my UPSs are my heat source.
Yeah.
I don't need AC in the winter unless the loads are really high and they're really low, so we bought the most efficient equipment we can buy too, so that plays into the low loads. So this is a main switchboard, motorized breakers. Connected to this switchboard is 2 UPSs and 2 generators and the utility feeds. Each UPS has 3 battery cabinets. Battery cabinet give you 3 minutes of run time without generator or utility. So each UPS has 9 minutes of battery time. If A is backing up B, it gives me 18 minutes of battery time. And then that's if they're 100% loaded. They're not 100% loaded, so I have oodles of backup time. In reality, it takes about 5 seconds for the generators to ramp up to speed and take over the entire load. And then we do the same kind of redundancy everywhere. Some of the crack units are on this side, some are on this side, and we divide everything up that way. If we were to lose half of the switchboard, we would lose 1 circuit at your cabinet, maybe some of the cooling, but you will never lose it all, unless we had a major catastrophe in here. And that's a specialized panel back there with the little brass keys on it. So what that allows us to do is concurrently maintain this equipment. So we can take the UPS inverters and shut them offline without interrupting power to the transformer. Then we can put the utility in parallel with that. Then we can remove the UPS from that parallel circuit without interrupting the power to that transformer, the customer circuit. We can take out the UPS, do whatever maintenance we want. We can remove it from the building and roll a new one in, put it back in line, reverse the order, the sequence of operations to bring it back online without interrupting power to that transformer, to that customer circuit. So this stuff can be maintained without shutting anything down. So, you know, once in a while I get a question, so when's the next shutdown? I'm like, why are we gonna shut it down? Well, you have to do maintenance. I said, I don't need to shut it down to do maintenance. You know, this was built with foresight, you know, it's concurrently maintainable. Now to maintain the switchboard, you gotta shut off one side or the other, but that's a different story. You're gonna love this.
Little generators right here.
Yeah. So these are 2 megawatt each, 16 cylinder, quad turbo, dual starters, 4 batteries, 40,000 pounds, 3,200 horsepower, drink 167 gallons an hour each.
100 and what?
167 gallons of diesel fuel an hour each at full load. Oops, sorry. They each have their own 300-gallon day tank. They have each have their own supply and return pumps. If you follow the pipes up and around outside, they go to a concrete above-ground bunker with 2 10,000-gallon fuel cells. And we cycle that fuel between the day tanks and the pump, between the day tanks and the storage cells. Yeah, these are monsters. These are well over 110 decibels when they're running. So you would not want to be in here.
How often do you
ruin
guys
you.
run it from the generator?
Every Monday. They auto exercise every Monday. We actually just finished a load test. We brought in a 2 meg load bank, wired it all up to that, and maxed them out. Because we don't have enough load to actually test at that level. We can test them. Oh yeah, look, they're carrying 300 meg. Ooh, big deal, you know.
Right.
But to test them at the 2 meg level. As you'll see, there's an abundance of space in every room, and that was by design. On AutoCAD, this room says it'll hold 9 generators.
Yeah, you could put
Maybe
a couple
only
more
6.
in here.
Yeah. The UPS room is actually designed to hold 4 of those switchboards and 12 UPSs. And the whole EBC upstairs was in case we ever needed to expand after that, but reality is, you know, if the stuff is getting more efficient, then, and because we're not doing colo, we're not going to have a lot of that big sprawling, you know, power guzzling space. We're going to have a lot of tight, compact, dense cabinets, you know, that are very expensive when you add the licensing and the hardware and the, you know, the people to monitor and maintain that. But yeah, there used to be 3 giant boilers here. This used to be the exhaust for a 3.4 megawatt Allison gas-fired turbine, so they had a jet engine in here. This box in the middle was their control room for the boilers. This whole wall was expansion tanks and circulator pumps. Then they had 2 3416 cats, very similar to these, sitting on those 2 pads. And when I got here, the control room was still here, the turbines and the gens were gone. But the boilers were still here, so we had to cut those out and repurpose the room. And unlike a car engine where it drags the cold air across the radiator and then the engine, generators work in reverse. They drag it across the engine, then through the radiator. So that's where you can hear the very large opening it takes to supply enough air for these. And then once the air goes through, it goes up and out through the roof, just to dampen the noise. Per the limit, we're at 65 dB at the curb. So Massachusetts only allows you to run 180 hours a year on generator, unless it's a, you know, declared a state of emergency. You can pay some fees for the extra pollution and go further. But in general, the best practice is keep you used to 180 hours or less. So that's, you know, 360 hours between 2 gens. So we're in pretty good shape. I haven't had to, since 2012 when they were installed, I haven't had to carry the customer load for more than an hour. So all the hours you see are either testing, load testing, or auto exercise.
Those are some big engines.
Yes, they are. When you feel it deep inside your chest when they run, I mean, it's pretty intense. And when you put them both on, you can't even tell if you're breathing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just so overpowering. Again, has its own loading dock, makes battery delivery real easy. We're in the process of creating a new entrance for the EBC, so that's why you see everything's padlocked and shut down. We got some parking lot work to do before we actually open this as an entrance. This is the shortest route to the EBC, so we can go back this way. I'll take you out and show you the chiller plant after too. So our most recent expansion was the addition of another 1.2 megawatts of transformer power to deliver more power to customers. We're actually expanding our remote power panel capabilities and increasing the number of circuits we can deliver. All those buses you see out on the raised floor are all tied to these. These are special transformers. Most facilities you'll get, you know, 208 power, and you can get single phase power and whatever you want. In our case, we had these specially made. They're 240 volt. So we can do 2-pole or 3-phase 240 volt. And what that does is it drives up the efficiency on the power supplies. So even if we get all those power supplies on the raised floor running 2 or 3% more efficient, you know, it's a huge gain when it comes to the electrical bill. Yeah, and there's every single thing in here is metered, monitored, and on camera. Everywhere we've been on, you know, 2 or 3 cameras in every room. I think there's 3 just in this room. It's efficient. There's very little heat and very little vibration. I can tell you what the load on that is, though.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Yeah, the loads are very low because of those buses being off right now. 492 watts because the kilo isn't lit up.
Yeah.
There's 492 watts.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looks like an awful
That's the network card on the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, bus A2. So 300 kVA primary and redundant, ready to use whenever you want them.
Yeah, it's around 400 watts.
Yep.
Couple light bulbs.
Yeah, and the bus is on. So literally you go plug in, I know there's 366 kW worth of power out there. 399 Yeah, 133 times 3, 399 kW of power. Yeah, so this is dual 300-ton carrier screw chillers, best in breed, highly efficient. They have dual pumps for the chilled water loop, dual pumps for the cooling tower loop, dual cooling towers, plate and frame heat exchanger. We just got about $385,000 worth of electrical rebates because of how efficient the design is. If it was below 50 today, we'd be running on free cooling. You wouldn't even hear the chillers running. So free cooling is literally circulating the glycol loop, the chilled water loop, interfacing it with the glycol loop at the heat exchanger, and then running it through fans and radiators outside. No moving parts other than fans and pumps. Makes it very efficient. And so that's the chiller room. There's about 900 feet just in 8-inch pipe, triple welded Schedule 80 steel pipe for that cooling tower loop. It's about 800 pounds for every 21-foot stick of pipe. Yeah, so this is the visionary's view of what where phase 2 will be.
Oh, wow.
You know. And although that looks like the roof, that was the original roof of the building. The new roof they put on is 6 feet above that. So there's a sprinkler system above that. There's a sprinkler system below this. And then if we do a drop ceiling, there'll be 3 layers of sprinkler system above this equipment. Yeah, so this one's just slightly smaller because we took more office space. So we're in the neighborhood of like 19 to 20,000 square feet in here. Okay, we'll head back this way. I don't want to go through either of the offices. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a data center long after I'm gone.